The topic of discussion today is going to be on CORADS. CORADS stands for COVID-19 Reporting and Data System. So it is a scoring system that we use to denote the likelihood of COVID infection based on the CT chest findings of a patient. Right. So it is not related to the CT severity. And we will also discuss about a few additional topics that are related to reporting COVID or a COVID suspect patient's CT. Right. So let's begin. What you see in front of you is the CT chest report of a proven COVID-19 patient. So like you can appreciate, there are different segments in the CT report, starting from a brief history with the duration of illness and the description of the CT findings. So you can appreciate words like ground glass opacity, septal thickening, crazy paving, and where these lesions are present in the lungs. Then there's a CORAD score that has been given, following which a CT severity score has been given based on the percentage of involvement in each of these lung lobes. Right. So after that, there are a few additional findings, and finally the impression. So our aim is that at the end of this discussion, say in the next 30 minutes, we must be able to completely understand and comprehend the different parts of this report. Right. So let's begin. Firstly, when do we need imaging? So we all know that not all patients who test positive for COVID require any kind of imaging modality for investigation. At the same time, be it CT or X-ray, they are not routinely used in the diagnosis or in the screening of COVID patients. The only confirmatory test for COVID is the RT-PCR. Right? So when do we actually need imaging? It is reserved for only certain special situations. So let's see, for an example, let's consider a patient coming to the OPD. He might be coming to the OP with certain respiratory symptoms, or he may come with an RT-PCR positive test. Right. So if the patient is a known COVID patient, then you see if the patient is having symptoms or not. If the patient is not having symptoms, then you do not have to do any imaging in that patient. Right. So if the patient is having symptoms, then you see if the symptoms are mild or moderate to severe. If the symptoms are mild, again, you look for risk factors in the patient. The risk factors that we know, as we know, are age more than 60 years of age, patient is a diabetic or is having an immunocompromised status, having some chronic liver, kidney or lung disease or cardiovascular disease. So if any of these risk factors are present, or if the patient is having mild or moderate to severe symptoms, in that case, you have to do a basic baseline chest X-ray in that patient. Right. Then beyond that, if the patient will need CT or if the patient will need serial bedside X-rays or not will depend upon the clinical course of the patient. Like for example, if the patient is having clinical deterioration or sudden worsening of respiratory symptoms, in that case, we might have to do an CT scan in that patient. Right. So we'll come to the next category where the patient comes to the OP with respiratory symptoms. In this case, we do not know if the patient is having COVID or not, right? So then again, we look for the severity. If the patient is having just mild flu-like symptoms, then we do not have to rush for an imaging immediately. But if the patient is coming with severe acute respiratory illness, in that case, again, we advise the patient to go for a chest X-ray. So in a patient with SARI, the chest X-ray might show you some finding. It could be either normal or it can show you some non-COVID pathology. Like for example, it can show you some massive pleural effusion or pneumothorax. So in that case, you have to do the appropriate clinical management for that case. If it is normal, again, you evaluate for some other findings in that patient. If the X-ray is suggestive of COVID, the X-ray looks something like this. Like you see, multiple subpleural, peripheral, patchy airspace opacities involving the lateral aspect of the chest. Right. So this kind of a picture gives you that the X-ray is pretty much suggestive of COVID infection. Or the X-ray could be equivocal. That is, you're not really sure. Maybe it's showing some atypical findings and you're not sure if the patient is having COVID or not. In that case, you can refer the patient for a CT scan. Right. So what are the indications to do a CT scan in order to diagnose COVID infection? Like I said, first thing is an equivocal chest X-ray pattern. Apart from that, if the molecular diagnostic tests are not readily available, that is the RT-PCR is not available in that facility, or you might have to wait for up to even 48 hours for the results, in that case, you can do a CT test. Sometimes if the facility has some resource constraints and you have to do a triaging of the patient based on the patient's needs, then immediately you might have to do a CT to find out if the patient needs admission or not. Right. Another example is when there is an emergency situation and the patient has to be taken up for surgery or intervention, and you can't wait for the swab results to come, right? So in that case, you can do a CT. Another example is when the RT-PCR is negative. It's come back as negative, but you have some strong clinical suspicion that the patient is having COVID. Or if the patient RT-PCR is negative, but you're planning an aerosol generating procedure for that patient, like a FES surgery or something like that. In that case, you want to be really sure that the patient is not having COVID. Then you can do a CT test. But again, remember here, the CT is not 100% sensitive for COVID. It can have up to even 30% false negatives, which means not all patients with COVID will have chest findings, and not all patients who develop chest findings in COVID will have findings from the beginning of the disease. That is, it could be normal in the early part of the disease, in the first 2 to 3 days of the illness. So that also has to be kept in mind. Next is looking for indications of CT chest in a case that is proven to be COVID, that you know that the patient is having COVID. In that case, if the patient is in home isolation, then you will have to do a CT only if the patient develops these danger signs. Danger signs as in difficulty in breathing or having a drop in saturation below 94%, or if the patient develops high-grade fever or severe cough, particularly beyond 5 days of the illness. In that case, you might have to refer the patient for a CT. Other group of patients are those who are hospitalized. In that case, if the patient is showing clinical deterioration or having sudden worsening of symptoms, or if you suspect some complication in the patient, it could be secondary bacterial infections or air leaks like pneumothorax, pneumomediastinum, or you're suspecting pulmonary embolism, in that case, you might have to do a CT pulmonary angiogram. So these are the indications to a CT. Next, before we go into the imaging findings in COVID, we should understand that any finding that you see, be it in CT or X-ray or an MR, it is going to be a reflection of the pathology of the disease, be it an infectious disease or a non-infectious disease. Like when we know what is happening at the tissue level, it becomes easy for us to understand why the image looks like that. Right? So, for example, if you take respiratory infections, some infections are going to affect the larynx, some affect the tracheobronchial tree. But in COVID, the pathology is going to mainly be associated at the level of the alveoli. So let's briefly go through what happens. When the virus enters the alveoli, it goes and attacks the type 2 pneumocytes. Okay, so that is going to release a number of pro-inflammatory cytokines. These cytokines will in turn cause activation and damage of the adjacent capillary endothelium. And this endothelial damage is going to trigger formation of microthrombi. Apart from that, you're going to have some amount of vasodilatation, and there is going to be enhanced vascular leakage. The vessels are going to be very leaky, and fluid is going to escape from the blood vessels and enter into the alveoli and around the alveoli into the interstitium. So to put it in simple terms, endothelial injury and microthrombi and leaky vessels. So there's going to be fluid into the alveoli and around the alveoli, causing some alveolar collapse. So you kind of understand what happens in COVID, right? So the main pathologies, that's why it's going to be centered in the most distal parts of the airway. That's why you get those airspace opacities in the peripheral subpleural locations bilaterally, right? So this is in general. So whatever findings that you see in a CT, it's going to be put under any of these 4 categories. You have the typical appearance, like we discussed, bilateral peripheral opacities, or it could be intermediate appearance where you see opacities, but they're not typically peripheral, but they are perihilar or they're unilateral, something like that. Atypical appearance is when you see findings that are not usually seen in COVID, like for example, small nodules or lung cavitations, which are typically seen in bacterial pneumonia, right? When it is negative for pneumonia, it means that the CT has no features that are suggestive of infection, right? So firstly, let's go through a few images to make it a little clear for us. First, we'll discuss the typical findings that you see in COVID. So this image is going to be our favorite image because this is going to keep coming in the discussion. This is a very simple example of how a typical COVID CT looks like, especially in the early part of the disease, early period of the disease, right? So here, if you can appreciate, there are multiple rounded areas of increased density, which are mostly in the subpleural region and located bilaterally, right? And the margins are not very clear, but you can appreciate the bronchovascular markings within the opacity, right? So this is called as the ground glass opacity or the GGO. It is called so because here at this stage, the alveoli starts to get filled with pathological fluids, but they're not completely filled. They're like partially filled. That's why you can see the markings within the GGO, right? So when the ground glass opacity becomes progressive, that is when the illness becomes progressive and the alveoli gets completely filled with fluid, then the GGO progresses into something called as the consolidation. So this is how consolidation looks like. There is an area of patchy opacity, which is like completely opaque, right? You're not able to appreciate the bronchovascular markings within this lesion. So this is something called as the consolidation, a progressive form of the GGO. Again, other thing that you might see in a consolidation is this linear black lines that you can appreciate. This is called as the air bronchogram. Air bronchogram is the patent bronchi that you're able to appreciate within the lesion, because it's only the alveoli that is undergoing consolidation. Fluid only in the alveoli, right? So the bronchi is going to be filled with air, and that's how you see the patent bronchi. So this is air bronchogram sign that you see in consolidation. So now we've understood both GGO and consolidation in COVID. So apart from these findings, there are going to be other list of findings that you see in COVID. So we'll see images for each of these and understand them, right? So going on to the next image, here if you can see, there is an area of ground glass opacity, and over that area of GGO, there is going to be multiple thin linear reticular opacities, right? So this is called as something that looks like this, right? So this is called as crazy paving pattern. In crazy paving pattern, like I said, the fluid that is going to go into the alveoli, around the alveoli in the interstitium, there's going to be lymphocytic infiltrates that infiltrate the surrounding septa also. There's going to be thickening of the interlobular and intralobular septum that is going to show up like this, reticular linear opacities on a background of GGO. This is called as the crazy paving pattern. So crazy paving pattern can also be seen in pulmonary alveolar proteinosis. So all of these findings are not exclusively seen in COVID. So I'm just giving you a few typical appearances that are possibly seen in COVID infection, right? So keep that in mind. So here in this image, if you can see, there is a area of consolidation, and that around the area of consolidation, there is a area of ground glass opacity, like some haziness, right? So this is something that looks like this. Can you see there is a sun and there's a halo around the sun, something like that. So this is called as the halo sign. And if there is reversal of this appearance, that is, if there is a central ground glass opacity and around that you have some annular or crescentic shape of airspace opacity or consolidation, this is called as the reverse halo sign, right? So these two are also seen in COVID infection. Another interesting finding that you see in COVID is when you have an area of ground glass opacity and within that you see a prominent blood vessel like this. This is called as vascular thickening. So this is supposed to be a finding that helps you differentiate COVID pneumonia from other viral pneumonias, because even in influenza, you're going to see pretty much the same thing, right? Subpleural patchy GGOs. But this vascular thickening is something that you more commonly see in COVID infection. And there are some named findings that is associated with vascular thickening. Like, for example, in this image, if you can see, there is a prominent pulmonary artery, which is ending in an area of patchy ground glass opacity. So this is called as the Dandelion sign, right? Something like this. A stalk of vessel ending in GGOs. Another example here, if you can see, there is a prominent blood vessel and thickening of the branches also. Right? This is called as the feathery sign. Right? You can get these in the exams, just keep them in mind. Right. In this image, if you can see, there is a central nodular opacity surrounding which there is some clear lung, and around that there is an area of airspace opacity, which is, it could be complete or incomplete ring-shaped opacity, right? It looks more like the target. If you can appreciate, this is called as a target sign. So here the central nodular opacity is thought to be due to the bronchial and vascular bundle that is getting occluded by exudates, and surrounding that you see this opacity. This is due to the alveoli getting flooded with fluid. So this is the target sign. So here in this picture, if you can appreciate, there is this triangular area of opacity which is in the subpleural location, and there is some amount of pleural pull also located here. If you can appreciate, this is called as the spider web sign. So this is a relatively late finding that you see in COVID when the infection is kind of resolving, right? This is also a late feature that you see in COVID infection. If you can appreciate here, there is a thin curvilinear opacity that is parallel to and less than 1 centimeters from the pleura, right? So this is called as the subpleural line or the subpleural band. So again, this is supposed to be due to alveolar collapse. Earlier we called this subpleural fibrosis, but fibrosis is supposed to be a misnomer because fibrosis refers to an irreversible change, right? But this subpleural lines get usually resolved by the end of 2 to 3 months. So this is also a late feature in COVID infection. Right. So now coming to CORADS proper. So all these findings that we saw now are findings that you see in COVID infection. And when you see this bilateral subpleural pattern, it comes under CORADS 5. So what is CORADS 6? When the patient is tested RT-PCR positive for COVID, then it comes under CORADS 6. So coming to the other numbers, CORADS 0 is when the scan is not interpretable. That is, the patient had severe movement or breathing artifacts when the scan was being taken, and there are a lot of artifacts in the image that you can't interpret it. So it comes under CORADS 0. CORADS 1 is very low suspicion for COVID, which means the lungs are either completely normal or it's showing some non-infectious pathology. CORADS 2 is having lower suspicion for COVID, which means it is having some infection, but that infection is typical of another etiology. It could be a bacterial pneumonia, say tuberculosis pneumonia, something like that. Okay. CORADS 3 is when again you see features of infection, but it is like equivocal. It is not typically following the COVID pattern, or it's not typical of some other infection as well. CORADS 4 is when you have high suspicion of COVID. CORADS 5 is very high suspicion of COVID, right? You got it? We'll see just the images of a few for all of these so that it's clear for us. So firstly, CORADS 1. In CORADS 1, like I said, either the lungs are completely normal, as you can see in this image, or you might have some pathology. Here, if you can see, there is honeycombing, subpleural honeycombing in bilateral lung fields. This is suggestive of interstitial lung disease, right? So this is a non-infectious pathology. So even though the lung is not normal, because it's showing a non-infectious pathology, it comes under CORADS 1, right? Next is CORADS 2. So in this image, if you can appreciate, there are these small, tiny nodular opacities. These are called as centrilobular nodules that are showing a branching pattern. If you can see something like this, there is a branch and which is ending in a nodular opacity. So this is something that you see in bacterial pneumonia. So this is called as a tree in bud appearance. So in this image, if you can appreciate, there are a lot of centrilobular nodules showing tree in bud pattern, and there is some area of consolidation with central cavitation, right? So this is something that you typically see in tuberculous pneumonia. So here, if you can appreciate, this is the image showing infection, but it is typical of bacterial pneumonia. So this comes under CORADS 2. CORADS 3. So CORADS 3 is, there is findings of infection, but it's more diffuse involvement, more widespread involvement. So in, like for example, widespread bronchopneumonia or septic emboli. So in this image, if you can appreciate, you see multiple areas of consolidation and ground glass opacity that is seen both bilaterally, and it's involving the central part and the peripheral part. So it doesn't fall under the COVID pattern, right? Again, in this image, this is an image of septic emboli where you see multiple nodular opacities, and in some opacities we see central cavitation, right? So this is not falling under any category in particular. So it comes under this unsure or indeterminate category called as CORADS 3, right? So CORADS 4 is when there is the level of suspicion is high, which means there is subpleural ground glass opacities or consolidation, but you're not. It is not the definition is not complete. Like for example, if there is a subpleural ground glass opacity, but it is unilateral, it is not bilateral. This can happen especially in early stages of the disease, in COVID itself. So in that case, it comes under CORADS 4. Otherwise, you can have multifocal areas of consolidation, but you don't see crazy paving, no ground glass opacity. So it is more likely COVID, but the definition itself is not complete, something like that. Another possibility is when you see the typical COVID pattern, the subpleural airspace opacities, on top of a diseased lung. Like for example, in this image, if you can see bilateral emphysematous lung fields with subpleural patchy opacity. So this also comes under CORADS 4, right? CORADS 5 is again coming back to our favorite image, bilateral, multifocal, subpleural ground glass opacities and consolidation with some amount of vascular prominence and subpleural bands, right? So CORADS 6 is, as we all know, RT-PCR positive with GGOs. It comes under CORADS 6. To sum up the typical findings, now I hope you understand each of these terms. Very typical, typical findings, atypical findings, and where the distribution differs, and very atypical findings like tree in bud pattern or cavitation, which you see in bacterial pneumonia. So just to see the images, CORADS 1, normal lungs. CORADS 2, cavitating consolidation, suggestive of bacterial pneumonia. CORADS 3, more diffuse involvement. CORADS 4, COVID pattern over a diseased lung. And CORADS 5 is a favorite typical bilateral subpleural peripheral GGOs, right? Okay, coming to CT changes in COVID over time. So depending upon the stage of the illness, the pattern in the lungs also changes. In the initial part, like we all know, it is going to be some amount of GGOs, and when it progresses, the extension of the GGOs and crazy paving pattern will be there. And in the peak stage, it's predominantly consolidation, like between day 10 to day 13. And during the resolving stage, that is absorptive stage, there's going to be gradual resolution. You're going to see the spider web signs, subpleural lines. So for an example, I'm showing you this image where this is the early stage. When it's progressing, you see this areas of areas of opacity with crazy paving pattern. Here you see consolidation predominantly in the peak stage, and when it's gradually resolving, you're going to see the subpleural lines, right? Okay. So final topic today is going to be on the severity scoring. So there are a number of different severity scorings that are in use, but the most commonly used scoring system is the 25-point scoring system. So here, the lungs are divided into lobes. Like the right lung is divided into 3 lobes, and the left lung is divided into 2 lobes. And depending upon the percentage of involvement in each lobe, we give it a score. Like if it is less than 5% involvement, we give it a score of 1. 5 to 25%, we give it a score of 2. 26 to 49%, score of 3. 50 to 75%, score of 4, and more than 75% is going to be 5. So like for example, in this loop, you might appreciate this involvement is around say 40 to 50%, so you give it a score of 3. So we see the entire image in axial or coronal sections and score for each lobes, and the sum total will be out of 25 points. And if it is more than 15, it is supposed to be severe disease. So the pattern of involvement, the morphology could be anything, it could be GGO or it could be consolidation. We're just looking at the percentage of involvement, right? Okay, so next is the 40-point scoring system. So here what we do is we divide the lungs into different segments. The right lung is divided into 10 segments and the left lung is divided into 10 segments. And each of these segments, depending upon the percentage of involvement, if it is less than 50%, we give it 1. If it's more than 50%, we give it a score of 2. So maximum will be 2 into 20 segments, which is 40 points. And it is said that if the score is less than 19.5, then there is no severe infection of the patient, right? Okay. So finally, I hope now you can understand the purpose of giving the duration in the report, and then the different findings that are explained in the report, the CORAD score, the severity score, additional findings, and finally the conclusion. Right. Okay, so the discussion will be incomplete if I don't talk about COVID-related complications. Even in the exam, when you get a question on a clinical scenario that is pointing towards COVID, you should always keep in mind that the examiner might be testing something related to a complication of COVID. It could be a secondary bacterial infection, a secondary fungal infection, or something related to the pulmonary thromboembolism. And the thromboembolic event can occur anywhere. Like sometimes a COVID patient can develop hemiplegia, and CT brain has to be done to rule out ischemic stroke. If there is abdominal pain in a COVID patient, you might have to do a contrast enhanced CT abdomen to look for thrombosis in the superior mesenteric artery. So understand the disease as whole whenever you're approaching a clinical question. So now here we have a contrast CT of the chest showing thrombus or a filling defect in the segmental branch of the right pulmonary artery. So this is a pulmonary thromboembolism in a patient with COVID, right? So with that, we come to the end of this discussion. I hope this discussion was useful. If you have any doubts, please try to put it across to me. I will try to answer it for you, right? Thank you.